Let me apologize in advance because I cannot give you answers to all of your questions because they involve serious national security considerations, and there's a limit to what could be disclosed to the public, because disclosure to the public means disclosure to the world, inclusive of the criminal element. If I can indicate to the viewing public, the Honourable Attorney General, Chief of Defence Staff, Don Polo, and I, we are here in Tobago to brief, and we've briefed the Chief Secretary on matters occurring in the Crown Point area. Let me first say that the airport in Crown Point is not a launch pad for any military operations. There's in the Atlantic, very close by, the USS Gerald Ford, an aircraft carrier, which is the largest and most destructive moving object ever built, and it is there for that purpose, so that there is no need for our country, particularly Tobago, to be used for any military operation. If I can indicate that radar systems are not new to Tobago, indeed to Trinidad and Tobago, but at this time we've had some issues with the existing radar systems and their capabilities. The new radar equipment being installed in Tobago is being installed to strengthen our capabilities and to assist us with counter-trafficking in terms of drugs, arms and ammunition, and interestingly human trafficking, which is becoming somewhat of an issue in Tobago. You may not know that there have been and continue to be illegal flights almost daily, inclusive of drone flights, which deliver drugs and guns from the mainland, as the traffickers have now grown some common sense and they've learned to avoid the sea. Now, we must not forget that in December 2024, the last government, more particularly Dr. Keith Rowley, had signed the Status of Forces Agreement, and that agreement outlines the powers of the U.S. military in Trinidad and Tobago. So maybe he's someone you may wish to ask some questions. Lastly, I was just asked to address the Tobago public on the contractor, California Stoker. That is a Trinidadian company, but it's a company also registered in the United States of America, and I understand they do business in the United States of America. They were not hired by the THA, they are not being paid by the THA, but not much else I'm prepared to divulge as to the nitty-gritty with respect to that company.
I think we have, just one other question for you, Sturge. Someone wants to know, and this is whether or not you can answer it, whether or not the foreign forces who are here, person that's here, can do security operations in our public spaces, such as our public roadways and so on.
Well, as I understand it, right now, maybe I should not even answer, because it's not really in the public interest, and what little I can say may lead to unnecessary speculation, because there's really, nothing harmful to be disclosed, but at the same time the nature of the operations and the nature of their visit is not something that should be disclosed to the wider public.
Finally, Attorney General, who is here, is there any other issue you think Minister Sturge is missing or I have missed from our discussions that is okay and should be placed in the public space?
I think that, I'm not sure that it was said, but the status of forces agreement is not new. It is not something that we have inked recently. As a matter of fact, we have a history, we're going back more than a decade of such agreements with the United States. The last one, I think, as the minister said, being executed by the former government in 2024 and coming into force early in January of 2025. So that agreement governs the presence of U.S. personnel and their activities, other things like tax concessions and so on are dealt with in the agreement.
And demystify what is in the public domain. There should be no real alarm about military personnel being in Trinidad and Tobago. That is not something new. That happens routinely from time to time. And in fact, right now we have forces from the Cayman Islands who are here, and they are not involved in any sort of activity that would be inimical to our national interests, but they are here. And I don't believe the U.S. is either. We've benefited. The short point is what the U.S., what they've done in international waters in pursuance of their own objectives has redounded to our benefit, because as you see, there's been a marked, a very significant decrease in violent crime, more particularly murders, almost half. We got it down to almost half. And now that you are not seeing boats targeted by the U.S. with regularity, one would take notice that there's no shortage of fish. Fishermen are still fishing. So those who are acting legally continue to act legally without being targeted. But because of the actions of the U.S. in international waters, the country as a whole has benefited in terms of murders. And now the drug traffickers, they have to up their game, change their strategy, and we are seeing it. They are making other advances in other ways, and we are simply here to ensure that we are also abreast and sometimes ahead of them, so that we can basically deal with their nefarious activities before it affects us.
And finally, I want to allay some fears over this matter. I have said something that I've also heard the Prime Minister say. I've heard the Prime Minister say that Trinidad and Tobago has not taken a position whereby it is using its soil, its waters, to launch any attack against any other foreign and sovereign territory. And so, essentially, Trinidad and Tobago is not a part of any war. I don't know that Trinidad and Tobago could stop Trump from doing whatever Trump wants to do. And when you heard the description of the vessel and assets that the U.S. have out in the Atlantic right now, it's evident that they don't need our soil nor our waters to do anything. They can do it from international and international space and international waters. And so I have said publicly that as your Chief Secretary Tobago, I will not support any installation that is meant to attack anybody anywhere else. And the government of Trinidad and Tobago continues to assure that that which is being installed here is not meant to attack anybody anywhere else, but to provide much needed information for our defense systems and our security services. Do I have that correct, Mr. AG? Right. So, and we continue to hold that position. The central government has not changed that position. I have not heard the Prime Minister change her position on that matter. I continue to hold that position firmly too. And so I want to allay the fears. I'm in a position now that I can allay the fears of the island of Tobago that we are not at war with anyone else.